Welcome, you're watching Political Spectrum live on Spectrum Television. Hello from me, I am Raymond Ita, putting you through with the day's biggest political news, stories and events making the rounds across the country, Nigeria. Thanks for joining us for the week as we put you through all the latest updates, especially as it concerns post-election reactions making the waves across the country with the aftermath of the recently concluded general elections in the country. Much later in burning stories, Bernard Tysters will be joining us over the line as we talk about one issue that has been dominating the political space throughout the course of yesterday and in the wee hours of this morning. A purported leaked audio conversation involving the founder of Living Faith International, Bishop David Oyedepo, as well as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, which the opposition and the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, claims tantamounts to pervading or pushing through religious rhetoric that could divide the country or in the least cause a rebellion or chaos. So find out all of these and more as we progress. But let's start off with a regular political update of the day's biggest news stories and events. The Presidential Transition Council, PTC, has debunked a fake Twitter handle created by unethical persons since 2020. A statement signed by the Director, Information for the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, as well as the Chairman, Presidential Transition Council, Willie Bassi, says the fake Twitter handle was created before the establishment and inauguration of the Council. Now, according to the statements, the PTC has nothing to do with the fake Twitter account, adding that approval for the establishment of the Presidential Transition Council was given by President Buhari in February this year and was subsequently inaugurated by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. Now, it does, in their words, expose the imposters who they've described as irresponsible in a calculated attempt to disseminate inaccurate and tainted information to unsuspecting members of the public. Now, the founder of the Living Faith Church Worldwide, Bishop David Oyedepo, yesterday reacted to a purported trending audio alleging that he had a conversation with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, during the last election. He explained that he never campaigned for any politician or spoken on their behalf in the build-up to the 2023 general elections in the country. Well, Oyedepo was speaking to the congregation at the church headquarters, Faith Tabernacle, Ota, in Ogun State, in response to the audio between him and Obi on the eve of the presidential poll, discussing on the mobilization of Christians in Kwara and Southwest State to vote for Peter Obi. Now, the cleric, while indirectly referring to the alleged leaked phone conversation between himself and Obi, said he never spoke to any group of people on behalf of any politician. It also added that all political parties also sought his prayers and advice before the election, and he had availed them. Well, according to him, no one had ever told him what to say in this world. Moving from that, the 36 state governors in Nigeria have planned to meet with the officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, among others, to iron out issues surrounding state security votes. Now, the Nigerian Governors Forum, through its head, the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, who announced this, said the meeting, which is slated for Tuesday, April 4, according to an invitation issued by the Director General of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Aishaina Okaru, would be virtual, as this would ensure full attendance by all the relevant officers in the matter. In a statement, the Director, Media and Public Affairs of the NGF, Abdulrazak Bello Barkindo, said those invited to the meeting include the EFCC, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, as well as the CBN. Barkindo further noted that the meeting will also consider deepening the management and expansion of the cashless policy, which took effect from the time of the redesigning of the national currency last year to further the financial inclusion of all citizens in the ensuing scheme of things going forward. Well, the NGF Media Aid also maintained that the meeting was called at the instance of the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit in its letter, which was dated March 30, which was also addressed to the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and signed by the NFIU director, Modibobo Tuka. We wrap up our updates with the news that the chairperson of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Loretta Onoche, has been suspended from the All Progressives Congress APC over alleged anti-party activity. Well, this was as the APC in Kakadu Gundari Ward in Misau local government area of Bauchi State also suspended the state APC chairman, Alhaji Babaya Misau, for alleged anti-party activities. Onoche's suspension was conveyed in a letter signed by 27 executive members of Ward 4 in Onitsha Olona in the Anocha North local government area of Delta State. But the letter was titled Loss of Confidence and Suspension of Loretta Onoche as member of the All Progressives Congress in Onitsha Olona Ward 4 of Anocha North local government area. Now, the ward said the decision followed a review of Onoche's conduct during the just concluded general elections. Well, it happens to be that suspension of the bigwigs within some political parties across the country has been some sort of post-election tradition, the PDP equally having its fair share of them. But we're not going to dwell on the two leading parties in the country today, only we focus our sight and attention on activities surrounding the man who finished third at the just concluded presidential election and one who many said rode on the crest of the popularity of most Nigerians in the lead-up to this election. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, was fingered for stoking up tensions in the aftermath of the just concluded polls by the APC over a trending audio which was claimed to be a purported conversation with the founder of the Living Faith Church Worldwide, Bishop David Oyedepo. What constituted or formed a part of that conversation is what we'll try to unravel, and whether or not they're stoking up tensions as has been claimed by the All Progressives Congress. Bernard Titus joins us when we come back. Stay with us. Political Spectrum will return.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people relationships, organizations thrive, and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying on. You're watching Political Spectrum Live on Spectrum Television with me, Raymond Aita. Let's get straight to the day's big story, and that's arguably a trending audio which claims to be a purported conversation between the founder of the Living Faith Church Worldwide, Bishop David Oyedepo, as well as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, during the last election. There has been reactions to the purported audio conversation, first of which has come from Bishop David Oyedepo himself, who said he had never campaigned for any politician or to speak on behalf of any group in the build-up to the 2023 general elections in the country, and he was speaking to the congregation at the church headquarters, Faith Tabernacle in Ota, Ogun State, in response to the alleged audio between him and Obi on the eve of the presidential poll, discussing on the mobilization of Christians in Kwara as well as southwest states of Nigeria to vote for Peter Obi in the election. At least this is the claim of the All Progressives Congress through its spokesperson Festus Keyamo. We'll get some clarity on this issue. We're being joined live now by Bernard Titus, a political analyst and someone who had been with the Labour Party throughout the course of the just concluded presidential election, and it's even been quite close to Mr. Peter Obi himself. So perhaps he can give us some understanding about all of this. He joins me live on Political Spectrum. Good morning, Bernard, and thanks for joining me today.
Good morning, Raymond. Good to be here too.
Thanks for joining us as well. Let's start off very quickly with this. I'm very sure you have been inundated with the news making the rounds about the alleged conversation between Bishop David Oyedepo and Mr. Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate. The APC in particular has responded to the trending audio by claiming Mr. Peter Obi has been propagating religious bigotry across the country, all in a bid to incite people against the current administration of President Buhari and the incoming administration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in spite of the fact that Bishop David Oyedepo has come out to discountenance the undertone that has been given to the alleged conversation, where he said virtually all the political parties and candidates came to him for advice, but he did not necessarily campaign for anyone. Let me start by asking, what's your reaction to the trending audio itself?
Raymond, let me make this very clear. The audio, first of all, Bishop Oyedepo is a citizen like Peter Obi himself. Outside of the religious, as a clergyman, a pundit man, they are citizens and they have rights to, galvanize support to anybody who they feel deemed fit to rule the nation. So on the issue or on the basis of that video or the purported audio, I don't see any rank on it, in a sense that Oyedepo is a citizen. He has a right to his freedom of speech. He has a right to whoever he wants to support, and same as applicable to Peter Obi. So for APC and what is his name, with respect to him, Festus Keyamo, usual claim, that is quite untrue. He knows, and all of them knows very, very, very truly that Peter Obi has remained a law-abiding person, like I told you a couple of weeks ago, and I told you the peace in the nation as we speak.
All right. Okay.
So that is, for me, it doesn't make any sense. So, and so they are both free or Oyedepo is free to give his support whoever he wants to. But for Festus Keyamo to think that Peter Obi wants to incite a religious issue in this country is quite unbelievable, because Peter Obi himself have maintained, like I said, if Peter Obi called for a press conference in this country, that for a protest or anything, this country will be on a standstill. But here is a man who is a very peaceful gentleman who has asked everybody to go about their business of the day peacefully without causing issue, and you are accusing the same man. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, like you've said and posited, there's nothing wrong with persons like Bishop David Oyedepo having his personal opinion or conviction on issues, because that's his right as a Nigerian. But would you agree with the school of thought?
Right.
Would you agree with the school of thought that someone of Bishop David Oyedepo's standing in society as one of the most respected religious leaders, not just in the country, but in the world at large, perhaps should not have been seen or viewed to, be taking a stand on who to support or who not to support going into the elections, even though he has claimed and said clearly that he did not campaign for anyone? I wonder if you've listened to the conversation itself. Did it in any way amount to, inciting people to perhaps, stir up some kind of opposition against President Buhari or the incoming government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as claimed by the APC?
Well, Raymond, let me re-emphasize this very strongly. David Oyedepo has the right as a citizen, outside of the fact that he is a senior pastor of the living faith. He has the right to galvanize support to any credible candidate at any point in time, right? Two, whatever is uses his platform, and outside the church, there is a man of upright. He knows who he wants, and he knows who he feels can lead the nation. So it's a simple thing for anybody to understand. Let's not make an issue out of nothing. Oyedepo has the right to choose or to govern any credible individual at any time. So if Festus Keyamo feels, or the APC feels, that is unacceptable to them, and the same thing they have done in the mosques, we have seen imam and various imam come out to use the mosque to galvanize support to anybody that they feel the person is credible. So a Oyedepo case should not be an exceptional case, I think. So for me, I don't see any sense in all of this. So his views and his opinions should be respected, and then if the case of ground, the audio, whoever, and I blame the telecommunication as well. The telecommunication has no right to invade having privacy, which is very unethical, unprofessional. That it was, videotaped, but however they extract that, it doesn't make any sense. It's a breach of confidentiality, and they should be sued to court. Hello?
Yeah, okay. Having said that, I'm just going to draw your attention now to a couple of tweets. One of them is coming from the spokesperson of Mr. Peter Obi in the person of Valentine Obienye, while the other is from Mr. Festus Keyamo himself. Now, the tweet from Mr. Valentine Obienye, who is the media aide to Mr. Peter Obi, actually confirms that, yes, there was a conversation between the two. But it seems to me like Festus Keyamo is perhaps blowing things out of proportion in terms of interpreting the conversation between the two. Peter Obi has said he only went to get advice and prayers from the revered Bishop David Oyedepo. Oyedepo, on the other hand, has said it doesn't amount to supporting his candidacy because every party or candidate actually comes to him. But it raises the question. A lot of persons have said perhaps Mr. Peter Obi's presidential ambitions misfired or backfired because he played a religious or ethnic undertone in the course of most of his campaigning. Do you agree with that position?
No, I don't agree entirely. Like I said earlier, whatever ground that Peter Obi went to visit Oyedepo, or whatever issue, he has right. And Oyedepo is a very respected individual in this country, and all the candidates who find him trustworthy enough can Oyedepo for any blessings, right? So if Festus is interpreting that as inciting religious bigotry, I didn't know, like I keep saying,
his understanding for me is something that is worrisome. It's worrisome, to be very honest with you. Because a unicorn has the right to welcome all individuals and receive prayer, and then they go and receive prayer from him and advice at any ramification. That's nothing to bother about. Because we have a lot of issues already on ground, like the spokesperson to Peter B have said, right? Peter B went there on a personal ground and advice. So it has nothing to do with anything. And on the issue of uniform.
Bernard, I'd like to draw your attention again to. I'd like to draw your attention to the excerpts from the phone conversation itself, just so we can unravel whether or not that was campaigning or Mr. Peter Obi using religious lines to appeal for votes. Now, part of the conversation on the part of Mr. Peter Obi said, "Thank you, Daddy. I need to speak to your people, or I need you rather, to speak to your people in the Southwest and Kwara, the Christians in the Southwest and Kwara. This is a religious war." But don't you think that amounts to inciting people, Bernard?
Raymond, that is allowed. It's allowed. It's a man who has a follower. If the audio is true, which for me, I haven't seen anything very concrete yet on the audio. Now, what I am saying is this, in essence of all of this, is this: any man who has such credit and who is commanding such a ministry, and then he's soliciting for his, it's appealing for him to go address a section of his people for support. The same way all the candidates or the did. That's not a problem at all. It's just an appeal. Oh, God, can I come speak with your people? And if such is allowed, then it is. So for every person trying to make an issue out of it, that is nothing that is business.
Well, maybe appealing for votes, or appealing for support is not wrong, but describing the elections as a religious war, don't you think Mr. Peter Obi went way too far?
Absolutely no. That is, if go back and listen to that audio again, Peter Obi never, and you know Peter Obi will do anything of sort will take the next policy. And he spoke as a sensitive, as a well-respected individual, and that audio. So the interpretation that the APC are trying to interpret is absolutely baseless and irrelevant completely.
Interesting now. Well, I also like to bring your attention to the other reviews and reactions that have been pouring in from Nigerians in relation to this issue. A lot of persons have equally fingered the APC for claiming they do not have the moral justification to criticize Mr. Peter Obi for this comment, in view of the fact that the All Progressives Congress rode into power courtesy of the just concluded elections on a Muslim ticket of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and former Borno State Governor Senator Kashim Shettima. In view of that, don't you think the rhetoric that has been pushed around, whether from Party A, Party B, or Party C, is not the kind of politics we're looking for in this country? Because it appears that tension is being stoked up virtually everywhere, whether it's Peter Obi, Bola Tinubu, or Atiku, or any candidate or party for that matter. Is this the kind of politics we should be, promoting or propagating at a very critical time in the annals of the nation's history?
Raymond, from the beginning of the whole campaign waves, Nigerians were upset and they kicked against the Muslim ticket. And some greedy politicians in our country decided to do a Muslim ticket just to fulfill the Islamic plans in our country. And we are quite aware that it's about 2 years left for them to Islamize this nation. We know. And then the Christian also revolted. That is the disrespectful act of picking a two individual from a same background, same religious belief,
of the highest office in the country. So that's the disrespectful act on the Nigerians already. But here you are having some criminal individuals who have benefited from the same policy and don't say anything wrong with a Muslim ticket. A Muslim ticket is what brought the whole mess and the menace we saw in the election. It should be a balance. The constitution requires a balance of it. But here we are having a two Muslim fanatics ruling the nation, or intending to rule the nation. It doesn't make any sense. And the Christians have the right to revolt and say no. I don't also blame most of them who supported it. I also blame the Southside people, political elite. Because if they have stood their grown family in one accord in unity and said the essence for the South, I listen to be zoned to the Southeast. We wouldn't have had all of this mess. They considered all of this together. So it doesn't make any sense.
Interesting. All right. In view of that as well, I perhaps also like to, because we're trying to strike a balance in all of this, the position of Peter Obi, the responses from and the views of Nigerians, including the opposition parties, and also the comments from Bishop David Oyedepo himself. We're going to put that up on the screen in a short while in reference to what he said to the appeals made by Mr. Peter Obi, which I'd like you to respond to, Bernard. Now, here's what Bishop David Oyedepo said. You know what I said in the first one. A sickly nation like Nigeria requires a strong and a healthy personality. And I said that anyone whose source of wealth cannot be verified should not have access to governance, particularly in an economy like Nigeria. I want to assure you that in the name of Jesus, the result shall be favorable. Well, trying to summarize what Bishop David Oyedepo has said here. First, he said, a sickly nation like Nigeria requires a strong and healthy personality. And some have summarized that to mean that he was throwing tantrums at Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose health, by the way, was called into question over time throughout the campaigning in the lead up to the election. And when he said we require a strong and healthy personality, that sounded more like saying that Bishop David Oyedepo doesn't support the ambition of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose health, as I said before, has been called into question. Didn't you find such a comment unbecoming of a senior cleric as Bishop David Oyedepo? Okay, we just perhaps have lost a bit of connection. Looks like we do have Bernard back. If you can get me, Bernard, just to rephrase on the last question I asked, Bishop David Oyedepo said, all right, I just wanted to be sure you got that line of questioning so that you can respond very quickly. Bishop David Oyedepo said, a sickly nation like Nigeria requires a strong and healthy personality. And here's what I'm asking. Don't you think that was, in a way, throwing tantrums at Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose health has been called into question over time?
Raymond, I completely agreed with the unique position. A sick nation requires a strong individual so that you can marshal that decision and lead the nation from economic adequacy in the right perspective. So his statement was a quote. He didn't talk to anybody. If the APC feel that was referred to their cabinet, so be it. But you made that comment profoundly and decisively. It didn't refer to anybody. That if the want to it,
well, we do apologize again for the poor quality of the line. All right, just go ahead, Bennett.
So, like I said, so if is referring to that, referring to them. So
allow them to take that. Hello.
All right. Yes, Bernard. We just have to apologize. We've been having issues with the phone lines. We just hope they could be good enough so we continue on this conversation. Well, you've said there's nothing wrong with the comments made by Bishop David Oyedepo, but I may beg to differ because prior to the elections, everyone had said let's focus on issue-based campaigning and not throwing negative rhetoric around or tantrums and shades at political opponents. But I did ask before, and I'm going to reiterate that question. If you don't feel it is unbecoming of a man of Bishop David Oyedepo's position to describe another political candidate, even though he did it indirectly, as not being strong or healthy.
If you go through that quote, the uniform didn't mention anybody's name on that quote. So he didn't mention his name on that quote.
Yes, he didn't mention, but you and I can tell this statement somewhat seemed accrued to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because I mentioned earlier on, Tinubu's health has been called into question throughout the campaigning and even right after the election, because many felt his health would not be, strong enough for him to oversee the affairs of the country for 4 or 8 years. So when he said Nigeria requires a strong and healthy personality, and someone whose source of wealth cannot be verified, should not have access to governance. Again, Bola Tinubu's wealth has been called into question over time. So it looks like this was an indirect gig thrown at the personality of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I'm asking, should that have been the position of someone of Bishop Oyedepo's standing?
And I completely agree with him. See, when a nation breeds an environment that breeds criminal individuals to lead the affairs of the nation, that's what you have. A man who was charged in the United States, his property with billions of dollars, is coming to rule the affairs of the nation without question. A man who his wealth is being questioned in all ramifications is seen to be the man to lead the affairs of the nation. And I am saying that the disposition of Bishop Oyedepo remains resolute and firm. And I stand very side by side by what comment he made, because he never mentioned the APC presidential elect name statement. So what the agenda that they have is absolutely baseless, uncalled for, and irrelevant.
Interesting. Well, let's go to another line of this argument. Discovering this leaked and trending audio conversation is one thing. Validating the authenticity of the personalities involved in this conversation is another. There's been a lot of confusion within the Labour Party camp, with contrasting statements coming out from spokesperson of the party's Presidential Campaign Council about this issue. For instance, the head of the Obidati Media Office, Diran Onifade, whom I'm sure you're well aware of, in a statement released yesterday in Abuja, described the leaked phone conversation as fake. And he has said it is a proof of the desperation of the All Progressives Congress, APC, to retain power by all means. I'm sure you've heard the audio conversation yourself. Do you feel that, in the views of Mr. Onifade, that the phone conversation in question may have been doctored or is a fake material and it's not a true representation of the stories pushed around, that was actually a conversation between Oyedepo and Mr. Peter Obi?
Well, Raymond, on this very purported video, I wouldn't have anything to say until, or I won't go deeply on those issues until the said personality respond vividly and accept if it is theirs or not. But the authenticity of that is what I cannot validate, right? And it's still speculation, and we are not certain if that is being Igbo's voice or Peter Obi voice. It could, you know, Nigeria, we can do anything just for media to gain media publicity and media and all of that. So, but then, the authenticity of that is what I don't I'm not 100% sure until my principal Peter Peter will be you know, debunk or say something very concrete on that regard. Then I can make more. I can
okay,
you know, expatiate further on that.
Well, following up on that, that was just the position of Mr. Onifade, who is the director of media of the Obi Dati Campaign Council. But another spokesperson of the Presidential Campaign Council, the very popular Nollywood actor Kenneth Okonkwo, has said the audio is actually authentic, except that he has said part of the information released to the public was doctored, meaning those behind this clearly decided which areas they wanted to leak out to Nigerians just to cause confusion within the polity and perhaps frame Mr. Peter Obi up, because he believes that the reasons that led to the conversation between Bishop David Oyedepo and Peter Obi was the Muslim ticket agenda that they felt would not augur well for the country. I did ask you about this earlier on, about your position and why the APC were insistent on fielding a Muslim ticket, even when Nigerians criticized this very largely. So opinion is clearly divided on this. But I'd like to ask you, how do you think the Labour Party would handle all of this crisis? And do you think it would in any way dent the image of Mr. Peter Obi, especially when he has post-election litigations to deal with in his attempt to reclaim a mandate he feels he lost at the just concluded presidential election?
Raymond, you see, no challenge or no, there is no, every single prominent individual of the Labour Party are not perturbed at all. They are focused and driven on the issue of reclaiming our lost mandate. That is the major focus of His Excellency Peter Obi and every senior legal advisors and members of the Labour Party. Anything outside of that is just a distraction. I can tell you for sure that the APC the litigation ongoing is already, there's a whole lot of issues on the account that I wouldn't want to comment, that they are already afraid of what is likely to be the outcome. But I can tell you there is no distraction, there is nothing tantamount or to discredit Mr. Peter Obi's name. He's a very high standing individual, very respected, track record personified. So there is absolutely nothing that the APC would do to discredit him at this point. Nigerians knows the outcome of the election, and they know what transpired across the nooks and crannies of the. So we wait and stay focused on the issue that is at the court at the moment.
Well, you seem to be quite confident that the Labour Party and its candidates would get to reclaim the mandate in court. But all of this has been juxtaposed with the rumors making the rounds that some politicians are making plans to, foment chaos in the country by installing an interim government, which would truncate the expected handover of power from President Buhari to President-elect Bola Tinubu come May 29. And some persons seem to think or believe that it is the Labour Party who is nursing this agenda, while there are no concrete facts to support that claim or that argument. All of this issue plus this leaked phone conversation could just give credence to that, and who knows, Mr. Peter Obi could be placed on the watch list of the DSS. So I'd like to reiterate again, if you think Mr. Peter Obi should be worried about any of this development in the coming days or weeks.
Mr. Peter Obi is not, he's not worried about anything. He's a very focus-driven individual. On the issue of who is trying to set up an interim regarding the May 29 issue, we all know that APC are trying to, that is their plan B
so that they will not lose power, because they know by the constitution their president-elect, and however they call him and whatever that led to him to be declared as a winner, by what constitution truly stipulated, he is not qualified to lead or is not qualified to be declared or to be sworn in comes the 29. And on the issue of an interim government, how do you do that when there was an election and we know who are the major contenders and who truly, by the constitutional requirement, who should be declared winner? So that is bearless, is unconstitutional for having conducted election and you result in setting up an interim government, which it doesn't make any sense. That has not, I don't know where are they getting that from. It is still the APC that is planning that. The Labour Party don't have that time for any of those gimmicks.
Well, you've just reiterated a position that was upheld by the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dati Ahmed, sometime last month, when he said swearing in Bola Tinubu come May 29 amounts to being unconstitutional and would mean an end to democracy in Nigeria. You've just reiterated that position again because you feel Bola Tinubu did not meet the constitutional requirements to be declared president-elect. It's a position that some have said also amounts to inciting, Nigerians against President Buhari's administration or the incoming one of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. On what grounds? Of course, we know these are matters that will be handled in court, by the way. But on what grounds would you premise that Bola Tinubu did not meet the constitutional requirement to be declared president-elect?
The Constitution as amended clearly spell out that you must have 25% spread across the nation and FCT, which FCT must be treated. Okay, let's leave the Constitution thing. Raymond, when you are in exams and the lecturer said exams and says answer question 1 and question 1A and any of the question B compulsorily, meaning that if you answer question 1 and you don't make any attempt, in fact you wouldn't even pass because you didn't make any attempt, you didn't answer question 2. So question 2 become a compulsory act of you making question 1. In this same analogy, you must be declared as a winner in an election having 25% of all your spread and FCT. So FCT then becomes a compulsory factor and should be treated as a state in this case. So when you declare a man who has not made 25% in FCT, so what is that supposed to mean? The exam stand and all. So that is what the Constitution clearly spell out.
All right, so interested. Let's wrap it up in a short while, and just before we go, there's also been some rather, negative comments and description of the kind of support that the Labour Party and the Obi Dati movement have enjoyed in the lead up to the elections and right after it. Not just going to talk about Festus Keyamo, who has described Labour Party supporters, or the obedience movement as is popularly known, as being, unnecessarily pervasive and posing a threat to the peaceful coexistence of the country. A lot has been said about the support base of Mr. Peter Obi. I wonder if you're sharing the sentiment that some of them can be very high-handed with the kind of comments and the rhetoric they push around, which in many quarters would amount to inciting people. The whole argument here is around inciting people through negative remarks that might actually hit up the polity. Do you agree that the so-called obedient movement have been guilty in this regard?
Raymond, if the obedient movement across the country wanted to foment any problem,
by now they would have been ranked across the state, across the nations by now. I do not agree with the APC usually throwing an insightful comments on obedience. We are very obedient in all ramifications. The election was conducted, and we are waiting to see what the justice system of Nigeria will do. And like I told you about some weeks ago, and I said, if Peter Obi called for a stampede or to call for a peaceful protest in this country, in less than how many hours, in less than 24 hours, the state of the affairs of the nation will be on a standstill. But rather, like we said, we are obedient in all ramifications. Obi have not called on anybody to incite or throw tantrum on anybody. And that's why you see the country is as peaceful as it is today. So that has been enjoyed. So there is no point them always, if they are afraid, they should come up publicly and say that they are afraid of them losing at the court. So that is the position.
All right, interesting thoughts, Bernard. We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so very much indeed for joining us on Political Spectrum today.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
All right, views from Bernard Titus, political analyst and a member of the Obi Dati movement here in Akwa Ibom State, talking to us about reactions trailing the purported leaked conversation of Bishop David Oyedepo, founder, Living Faith Church Worldwide, as well as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. It has generated diverse reactions. We did talk about that coming from the chief spokesman of the All Progressives Congress, Festus Keyamo, who has said that the obedience, or the supporters of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, lack integrity and honor. And this was done via a tweet yesterday, reacting to the denial of the leaked audio of Obi and Bishop David Oyedepo. In his views, of course, the APC, or rather the Labour Party, are just trying to put a spin on the allegations hovering around the purported conversation. We've given you reactions coming from the interested parties themselves. Bishop Oyedepo has said there was nothing wrong with meeting with Mr. Peter Obi because every other political candidate and party have actually visited him as well. So why is the case of Mr. Peter Obi being blown out of proportion? Does it have anything to do with the fact that he claims the election was a religious war, and does that amount to stoking up the tensions? But as the Labour Party has claimed, this was just a doctored piece of the audio, and the ones that perhaps those behind it wanted to show to Nigerians to portray Mr. Peter Obi in a bad light. Because the argument here claims that the conversation stemmed from a discussion around the Muslim ticket agenda of the APC, which saw Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima as standard bearers of the APC in the presidential election. Would that have informed Mr. Peter Obi's choice to say this was a religious war, the elections were about a religious war, and that he needed the support of the cleric to galvanize voters from Kwara and some parts of the southwest states in the country? The jury is still clearly out on this, but I'm very sure it's a matter the government will be monitoring closely. But so would the neutrals as well, because some persons maintain this could just be a possible witch hunting of the Labour Party candidate in an attempt to dampen his morale with post-election litigations up on his agenda in the aftermath of the just concluded polls. I'll wrap it up in this conversation. When we do come back, stay with us, Political Spectrum. We'll return.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my Lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyeken on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
One truth, not often.
Thanks for staying with us. It's the last lap of Political Spectrum this morning. Don't forget, you can always catch up with us on Star Times, DTH Channel 421. And for light feeds, just head to our socials, subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can catch up on all that you may have missed in the course of our programming. And yes, a reminder of the day's biggest story. Controversy is trailing a purported leaked audio between Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, as well as the founder of the Living Faith Church Worldwide, Bishop David Oyedepo, with the comments made during the just concluded presidential election. A leaked conversation, of course, exposed the Jew, especially the former, begging the latter to woo Christians in Kwara State, as well as the southwest region of Nigeria, to vote for him. It has generated diverse controversies. Opposition parties in the country, especially the ruling APC, have described the conversation as an attempt to incite supporters of the Labour Party to, of course, perhaps cause chaos and rebellion. And they have said Mr. Peter Obi's campaigning throughout this electioneering period has been that of religious bigotry. How true these claims are is yet to be verified, especially with opposing reactions even coming in from within the Labour Party camp. Some of them maintain that the leaked audio conversation is fake. Others say it was doctored and not a true description of what was said between the two gentlemen, except that Bishop David Oyedepo himself has reacted to those claims by saying there was nothing wrong in a meeting he had with Mr. Peter Obi. If for anything, other candidates, he didn't mention names, but said clearly other of the leading candidates, as well as their parties, have all visited him to get prayers, advice, blessings in the lead up to the election. So nothing he said contravenes any guiding laws of the land. But how far will this go, especially with all the rumors making the rounds about purported plans to put in place an interim government that would likely truncate the seamless handover of power from President Buhari to the next administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu come May 29. This is coming on the back of a statement by the DSS last week that it has identified some politicians who have these misguided notions that an interim government will be put in place. Well, Nigerians have said the DSS should not just stop at claiming it has identified these persons. Perhaps name calling would go a long way to identify who these persons are. But some have also said the personality of Mr. Peter Obi cannot be equated with the claims making the rounds that he is inciting his supporters against the government. The last of this we've clearly not seen, but it's a matter we'll do well to follow up and bring you up to speed with as the time goes by. But that's how far we can go on today's edition of Political Spectrum. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Bernard Titus, political analyst and a member of the Obi Dati presidential campaign team here in Akwa Ibom State, to talk to us a short while ago, bearing his thoughts on this issue. A revisit the matter should we have a need to, but that will be when next we come your way for another edition of Political Spectrum. On behalf of me, Raymond Ita, and the rest of the crew, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.